Jamie Lee here from BirdTricks, and I'm here with Jinx and Comet to bring you our new Birdie bread blends. Now, one is done after Bubba. It's Bubba's blend because that is Jinxie's nickname, and it includes his favorite, which is blueberries. And then we over here have Comet's concoction, which includes sweet potato and turmeric, some of his favorites on a daily basis. So I'm really excited to make these for you, show you one, how easy it is to make, and two, just how much one bag of Birdie bread can actually make for you. To make our Birdie blends, you only need a few things from your pantry. This includes 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 beaten egg, 1 cup of applesauce, which you can make at home, which is what I chose to do, and 1 cup of one of the Birdie bread blends. Now, the base of our Birdie blend is our pellets, so it's a great way to get your bird accustomed to an organic pellet. And that's all you need. You're gonna need a mixing bowl and something to bake your Birdie bread in. If you wanna make muffins, that's also an option. What's that to say? So out of my 2 Birdie bread blends, I actually chose to make Comet's blend for you guys today and for my birds. So simply pour 1 cup of that blend. Oh, now I got the bird's attention. And you'll notice that our Birdie bread blends look a lot like our pellets when they're powdered, which is because, again, they are made from the base of our pellets ingredients. So all organic ingredients are going into this, which is awesome, especially if you choose to make your own applesauce at home. The very first thing you need to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. And then simply you're going to mix the dry ingredients together and the wet ingredients together, but in their own mixing bowls. So I'm gonna show you what that looks like. Do you wanna help, Jinxie? So with your beaten egg, you're simply gonna add the applesauce. And with your Birdie bread blend mix, you're going to put that in a bowl along with your baking soda and baking powder. Then you're just gonna combine everything nice and well. Are you helping? Are you helping, Jinxie? Bubs, not yet. It's not ready yet. Once your wet ingredients are thoroughly mixed and your dry ingredients are thoroughly mixed, the next thing that you're gonna wanna do is mix them both together. So I'm simply gonna take my dry ingredients and add my wet ingredients to it. And I'm not gonna let you taste test yet. But this is going to form your batter, which you're going to use for either your muffins or your full loaf of bread. Does it look good? Because I don't want these to taste testing prematurely the raw batter, I'm gonna go put them on a plate stand while I put the batter into this pan before it goes into the oven so you guys can see what it looks like, but I'm not luring any curious beaks. So your batter should look delicious. Just kidding. It's delicious in bird terms. And again, you can make mini muffins. You can make this in as big or little portions as you want, depending on the size of your bird. So as you can see, this only took up about half the pan, so I can actually make a whole other recipe and put it here if I wanted to do Bubba's blend on this side, Comet concoction on the other, because they do bake for the same amount of time. So this will go in the oven for about 15 minutes, and you can test it with a toothpick by poking it through and just making sure that it's cooked all the way through. The cool thing about Birdie bread is it lasts a long time, so you can freeze it. Just make sure that you're not freezing it, then thawing it, then freezing it again. So freeze it initially, then thaw it as you need to use it, but do not re-freeze it. Birdie bread is a great tool to kind of hide healthy foods in a texture that most birds love, which is being the bread type texture. So what you can do is you can add fresh foods to this and blend it in. So if you need to add more or less moisture, just keep that in mind. Using canned type veggies is gonna add a lot more moisture, so be aware of that, versus adding fresh. So one of the things that I really like to do, or tell my clients to do to get their birds to eat our natural feeding system, is incorporate it into the Birdie bread. So you can literally take our natural feeding system. This is a bag that I am thawing literally today, and you can incorporate it in. Now keep in mind when you're taking it from frozen to thawing, it is gonna have a lot more liquid in it. So you will definitely wanna cut back on the applesauce as necessary. But just kind of get this texture and make sure that it's not too dry and it's not too wet when it's going in. You want that really good consistency of a batter that's not hanging on to things, but it's also not super dry. So I can put my hands on this and it's wet, but it's not completely coming up on my hand, if that makes sense. So hiding foods in birdie bread is essential for getting some birds to try healthy foods or get a taste for healthy foods. That's why this birdie bread is such a great tool to get a bird to try our organic pellets, because the base of the ingredients is our organic pellets. And then you can incorporate foods that you know your bird likes to give them those flavors that they're used to or they might seek to find. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and make another batch of Bubba's blend this time to put next to Comet's concoction in my pan, so you guys can see two little variations of recipes. Now, each bag you make identically the same with the same ingredients. However, this time I'm going to incorporate 1/4 cup of my seasonal feeding system. So you can see that's all fresh foods right there, but it is nicely thawed. So that's gonna add some liquid, so I'm probably gonna need less applesauce to go into this so that my batter isn't completely wet and doesn't cook as well. So that's what we're gonna do right now. So I get my cup of birdie bread blend. And remember to put all the dry ingredients together. So that's my birdie bread blend with my baking soda, my baking powder, which is a teaspoon of each, and then I mix it really well together. Then I'm gonna go over here to my wet ingredients, take my 1 beaten egg with my 1/4 cup of my seasonal feeding system. And I'm gonna go ahead and mix that together first. Then I'm going to combine my wet and dry ingredients. And the reason I haven't yet added applesauce is I wanna see how much liquid I still need to make my batter the consistency of the other batter. So that'll give you a good, adequate result. And I can already tell I'm gonna need some of my applesauce, so I'm gonna pour probably half of it in. And even still, I can see needing more, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave maybe 1/4 of it out. And that's about a perfect consistency for me. So go ahead and play that by ear for what you end up adding to your birdie bread, whether it's fresh or depending on how you do it. Since mine was just recently thawed, it was a lot more liquidy than normal. So I wanna make sure that my batter doesn't get too wet. So I'm gonna go ahead and add this to the other side of the pan. We'll see the differences in these two birdie breads. So these are my two birdie blends. This one is Bubba's blend with the blueberries and my natural feeding system added in. You can see a lot of the greens are kind of sticking out. And this one is Comet's concoction. You can tell by the more orangey color from the sweet potato and the turmeric. So we're gonna put these in the oven and see how they turn out. So these are my birdie breads fresh out of the oven. The way that I tell that they are done is I just take a toothpick, put it in, and if it comes out clean, we're good. If it comes out clean, we're good. So I'm excited to let these cool and then serve them to the birds and see how they like them. So my birdie bread is complete. I ended up going with muffins because one, my birds really like to hold foods in their foot and be able to eat it that way. Also, I can break it up into meal-sized portions. And one entire bag of birdie bread made 56 muffins. This is 1 serving, so the recipe on the back of your birdie bread, it will make this big of a portion. Obviously, if you have birds smaller than mine, you may want to make your muffins a little bit smaller, but this is about the size of the muffins we made. Again, an entire bag of birdie bread made these, which might end up giving the bite out of them. Yep, had a feeling that was gonna happen. But 56 muffins. Oop, and we got another guy. I had a feeling I wasn't gonna get away with showing these off for very long with the birds involved. They're already digging in. Now, one of the things about my birds is normally they really like mushy textured foods, and that's why, because most birds do, that we tell you to use 1 entire cup of applesauce in the recipe. If your bird is kind of like mine, where they actually prefer the crunchier, drier textures in a birdie bread, then go ahead and only use 2/3 of a cup of applesauce for this recipe. That'll just make it a little bit more crunchier, a little drier, and it'll help it cook a little bit faster. keep in mind if you're incorporating other types of ingredients into the recipe that you may need to alter the ingredients just a tad based on how much moisture you're adding and how long you're cooking for, and also how big you're making these. Muffins are just a great size because again, they can hold them in their feet and eat them as a meal, so you can really portion it out a little bit easier. Yeah, is that good stuff? All right, I'm gonna set you down so I can get cute video of you. I know, I'm not taking your muffin. Because I've made so many of these muffins, I have way more than my birds can eat in a day. So I am gonna go ahead and freeze these. Now I use a Ziploc bag because I go through food pretty quickly around here with the size of my flock. However, those vacuum sealers are really the best thing to use for freezing because they lock out all the air. Again, please just keep in mind that once you freeze these and then thaw them for use, make sure that you use them in about 3 days, I would say max. And then do not refreeze them. So make sure that you use whatever you thaw, so be very mindful of that. Now for the small birds, I really like incorporating spray millet. So if you can take some millet and just sprinkle it over the top when these are warm and they first come out of the oven, that will be really great because they'll actually seep down into the batter a little bit and they'll kind of bake in or warm in at the very end. And that's a really great way to entice the small beaks into something like this. Don't be afraid to incorporate things that you know that your bird already likes in order to engage him and get him interested and curious enough to check these out. Whatever you need to do to entice a bird to try this, do it, and then you can always wean off of it and eventually not have to use stuff like that. Do you want to come over here? You do. Boo! Boo! All right, so what? So my birdie bread is done. Whoa! Hello. Hello, sir. You will not be left out of this. Hey everyone, Jamie Lee here with BirdTricks, and I'm very excited to announce our new birdie bread flavors. We have Bubba's Blend. What's your nickname? What's your nickname? Bubs, you blew my shot. It was gonna be so cute. He blew it. We'll start with you, Comet.